Alright, I have to make a confession here. I have been listening to this anime's music for a long time now, and I haven't gotten around to watching it until recently. And someone needs to smack me of a bludgeon instrument because I'm going to be blunt here. This anime was absolutely amazing. I easily loved this anime. So it looks like I have another anime I can use to smack people around with. With a fruited grisaya in my right hand and in the other hand 11 eyes. While complaining the whole time about how the filthy casuals have ruined anime and yada 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 and so on. And that was sarcasm, by the way, don't take that seriously. Anyway, this anime's characters were unique, realistic, emotional, and had development. The plot and concept was absolutely amazing, taking clear use of tension and unpredictability, which, combined with the characters and strong atmosphere, made this anime one of my new favorites. The story starts off by focusing on our main character Kakeru, who is just living his rather depressing life, with his only real friend growing up, Yuka. And after a somewhat typical day of the two just walking along, their reality is suddenly shattered as the sky turns dark red, which results in them calling this alternate reality the Red Night, where in this world, our characters are getting attacked for what they see as no reason, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. The first element that really helps this anime is the characters, starting off with Kakeru, who's a very good main character, being that it's really easy to sympathize and relate with him. Along with being an orphan, while at a young age he had to experience the tragic loss of his sister committing suicide, where Yuka is pretty much the only person he has left to be close to. And as time goes on, these elements are intertwined and expanded upon in the plot. But overall, the best thing they do with his character is how they develop him through how he responds to the Red Night, with his desire to stand up and learn how to fight back against it and in turn protect Yuka. And the key reason this works is because they give us, the viewer, a reason to care about him, being his depressing past and his charming interactions with Yuka, so that us, the viewer, can easily get behind and root for him to fight back against the Red Knight. It's not just the typical, I want to be strong and save the world and so on, blah 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 blah, but rather, the creators were so much smarter by making something that is so much more meaningful and relatable. Not to mention, what only amplifies our investment in his character is the times when he grows in his skills and actually becomes a main player in this whole story. That one scene where Kakeru takes out a higher up enemy and saves Yuka was so much more engaging because of these previous points. Overall, it is very nice to see his strong sense of determination and growth. While being intertwined with his relatable past, this makes Kakeru such a good main character. Now let's look at the next excellent character, Yuka. They first set her up as a nice caring person who works well to contrast Kakeru's more depressing nature. The main reason she is a good character is because they give her logical development. Sure, it isn't the epic hero development that a lot of people honestly prefer, but it is still an extremely well-paced and logical development, even if it is more of a psychological slip. At first we see her as a kind girl, but as time moves on she starts to get more clingy and well a bit more nuts. And like any smart development, we are given reasons to why this would happen, and a steady progress to go along with it. This progression is logical to see because of the way she has a friendship and feelings for Kakeru. Even without this, I still stand that getting repeatedly dragged into a world where monsters are trying to kill you over and over again is proper justification why this might negatively affect someone's psyche. But they don't stop there. They also explore how she is feeling helpless to protect someone who she has always been able to help in the past. This is the feeling of having everyone and everything you love getting lost from you for reasons you don't understand. But not only does this work for motivation, but also for sympathy. I mean, in other words, how is the fear of having the only person who is ever a friend of you, in an orphanage I might add, not a good reason to sympathize with her? This presents sympathy with her character so that even though we know she's doing something that is obviously crazy, we can still feel sorry for her. The next key point is just how well paced and foreshadowed it is. We are first hinted at this at the beginning, as she is losing physical health over the mental effects of the Red Night. Next, this progresses to a growing jealousy of another girl, while at the same time ties back to the feelings of helplessness and losing everything that I talked about before. As time progresses and this concept grows and expands more and more in a logical and steady progress, until the girl you see at the beginning is nothing like the end result. And ultimately, I'm so glad this anime didn't just glance over the side effects of, being attacked by monsters at complete random has on a person. And I know this isn't the only one, but it is definitely the main case of this being presented to us. And even though some people may not like this idea, I will stand by that they presented this in a logical, sympathetic, and realistic way that helps add to the intelligence and quality of the show. Moving on, the next character I want to talk about is Misuzu. She is set up as a powerful sword wielder who is taking control of several magic swords, and as a result of this is wanted by her family for breaking laws regarding this. One of the main reasons she stays out of the typical "I'm so extremely serious that I have completely forgotten everything involving emotions" type trope is they give her a realistic personality. Yes, she is serious most of the time, but definitely not robotic, with several good interactions to show for this. You know, sometimes just adding an actual chuckle and some genuine happiness combined with serious focus helps present her character in a way that is not just cut and paste. Now, the main reason I like her character is how they develop the aspect that she isn't good enough to win every fight against the Red Knight. At first, we wouldn't think this is the case, and she ends up saving everyone quite frequently. We even have a scene where she is flat out crying because of a struggle against the Red Knight, which ties in nicely with her backstory and the plot revolving around it, that provides a reason why she would actually value being strong, which stops this from being a case of the writers saying, "because I said so." Misuzu was another unique, realistic, relatable, and flat-out interesting character to this cast. Another notable set of characters are Kiko and Taka, who are worth talking about together because that's how they worked best as characters. The first thing that helps them is they both have a personality. Yukiko is very happy and outgoing, but also has a contrastingly split personality. Takahisa is somewhat of a moody delinquent who prefers to be alone. But thankfully they have more going for them than just this. Another thing that I liked about them was that their past was a justification to why they acted, just like several of the other characters. They present a reason that Takahisa wanted to be alone, and there's a good reason to why Yukiko has a split personality. Lastly, the whole ribbon on sealing them as good characters is that they had a lot of good interactions between each other, with the promise for a possible romance. I won't say how this ends up, but I will say that it makes for a really memorable moment. And lastly, following in step with the rest of the characters, they do have development. More notably Takahisa, who begins to open up, accept, and even care about the other characters. As for the villains, they were also great. Sure, I wouldn't call them the absolute best villains ever, but they don't have to be to still be very good and interesting. Now, it's a little hard to talk about them without going into spoiler territory, but I'll do my best. The first thing, like any good villain, they have proper motivation, which is greatly expanded and developed upon, with this factor playing a part in creating a wonderful twist. The main villain in particular takes strong advantage of these elements. Not to mention, they help draw their interest from the mystery of the world around them, which combined with their motivation plays a critical role in their overall good quality. Alright, now let's talk about one of the absolute best parts of this anime, which is the amazing premise and how it is executed. The whole show revolves around the idea that literally at any moment, the Red Knight can appear and monsters will try to kill our protagonists. This just screams amazing tension, since we know that there is always a threat that can literally come from nowhere, which is just fueled by the unpredictable nature it had at times, that comes from the twists, the foreshadowing, and the new plot elements that are introduced. Not to mention, this show has some amazing atmosphere, from the overall contrasting design of the Red Knight to the absolutely perfect soundtrack, which I did clearly notice and thoroughly enjoy throughout the whole anime. It's everything from the opening to the individual tracks that are absolutely beautiful, and help play a major role in the world's overall presentation. But luckily, 11 Eyes definitely isn't just good ideas, strong presentation, and a definable atmosphere, because with the plot's incredibly strong presentation, it is just as good. Not only does it take hold of positively going from point A to point B, but also every aspect in between. The plot really is the overarching point that helps grab all the other elements together to make this anime so good. The first thing it properly conducts is its perfect use of mystery. Like any good use of mystery, they give out just as much information as the characters know, along with enough information to understand the basic idea of the plot, such as the unpredictability of the Red Knight and why they just can't run away from it and so on, while at the same time raising interesting aspects to be later developed upon, such as why one of the Black Knights says directly to Kakeru that he should die, why Kakeru is seeing a girl that looks like his dead older sister, which raises the question, is that her, or is he just crazy? And lastly, the whole reason why this whole ordeal is happening in the first place. The anime takes full advantage of this by having the characters question and talk about these things themselves, since they don't have any more of an idea of what's going on than we do. The result of this is some great interactions that help fuel the expansion of this world. Now, I have a feeling that some people might be disappointed with the non-linear and abstract way the plot progressed at times, but I can't help but see it as another element that helps to add to the mystery and overall atmosphere of the show. I like how they gave small snippets at the beginning to events that would tie into later plot points, which is another element that helps add to the overall mystery, while at the same time giving you something to think about and connect the dots to, which is also similar in a sense to how the Fruit of Grisaia opened up. Now, it's not like the plot was missing key elements, since by the end you do receive a strong description of everything that's going on, and why it happened. Yeah, you do have to pay attention at some points to know what's going on, but honestly, the anime would have been so much more uninteresting if it was just a basic linear plotline, with no mystery or reason to care about the world that is being created. The last major point of the quality of the plot is how it is able to create genuine drama. I know I already touched on this with Yuka, but there is so much more to it than just that, since she isn't the only one the Red Knight affects. We get to be shown how the Red Knight tears at the relationships of the main characters and so on. Furthermore, as a result of the plot, we get to see the characters actually show some strong emotions. They get inflamed with rage, they show fear, and when they decide to kill someone off, they have a strong reason for the other characters and the viewer to care about what's going on. This anime's plot did everything right that helps hold up all other aspects of the show, from the characters to the premise. Now, if you want me to talk about problems, I really don't have much. The only one thing I did have a distaste in is that, yes, there is some pointless fan service here. It does distract from the overall theme of the show and is a bit glaring, since I don't see any reason anyone could possibly say that, showing panty shots every now and then in any way helps positively present the character's world plot and so on. But to be fair, it wasn't extremely bad, where it is a major problem and is greatly distracting to the overall progression of the show. I mean, it's not like there's a constant barrage of panty shots every 3 seconds. It felt more like a pointless add-on that luckily never had a large amount of focus on it. Not that this isn't bad, and I definitely would have been happy to not have them, but I can definitely think of a lot of other anime that have had a much larger problem with this, and 11 Eyes' lesser nature helped keep it being more of a nitpick. And on a more positive note, the fan service was really the only gripe I had with the show, which is really impressive actually. In conclusion, 11 Eyes is an underappreciated gem that I am very disappointed in myself for not viewing any earlier. The characters were all unique and interesting. They all have development, genuine interactions, a reason to care, and for some, faults. And all of this is partnered with wonderful atmosphere and music, with the centerpiece being the original tension-filled progression of an extremely interesting plot. As far as great anime goes, this is definitely going to be one of my new favorites. Greetings there, dear viewer. Guess what? This is Enslate, and guess what that means? That means videos. For you, whether you want them or not. Or I guess you could just exit out and leave me, but nah, I'm just gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. First off, we have a discussion on the importance of action in anime. And next up, we have my review of Ruby. Or we would have had it, except that Rooster Teeth's copyright division wouldn't know what fair use is if it hit them in the face. But hey, I'm not angry. Since even if they don't want to acknowledge fair use, they will still acknowledge a DMCA counter notification. So maybe if you're watching this in the future, that link will actually work for you.
I got my eyes on you. Everything that I see.
すごいな。でしょ